I invite everyone to Rotary Club of Visakhapatnam, the 80 years old club. And today, the 14th of April, the speaker meet on this Wednesday on Zoom, I call it to order. I request our past president, Muralidharan and past president Vijayasagar to please invoke the Rotary song. Just a second, sir. I'm putting it on screen also.
Murali, ready?
Yes, sir, please.
Murali?
Murali is on mute.
Murali garu unmute cheskondi. Ready, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. मानव की सहायता फर्ज यही आखिरी, इसी का नाम रोटरी, रोटरी रोटरी, इसी का नाम रोटरी, सकल विश्व बेभवान प्रेम भाव आखिरी, इसी का नाम रोटरी, रोटरी रोटरी, इसी का नाम रोटरी, पुण्यपति कामगार मिलके करे कारोबार, अपना देश की करेंगे एक साथ चाकिरी, इसी का नाम रोटरी, रोटरी रोटरी, इसी का नाम रोटरी, सकल विश्व अपनाना, सब समान समझना, सबको मार्ग यही बताना, इसी का नाम रोटरी, रोटरी रोटरी, इसी का नाम रोटरी. Thank you.
Thank you, Sagar, for joining with me and finishing it very fast.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now you can go to your work.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Sagarji, and thank you, Muralidharan for the nice Rotary song. Yes, sir. So before starting up, I request all our members to please switch on their videos so we can go ahead with an interactive session also. And first of all, let me cordially invite our today's speaker, Dr. Ramya Moorthy, who is from Chennai, CEO of Robotics. Dr. Ramya, welcome to Rotary Club of Visakhapatnam.
Thank you so much. Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Yes, my dear friends. So as we have discussed, this last couple of weeks, we have started going ahead with our programs on Zoom because of this COVID. And even the members have been suggesting for the coming couple of weeks also. So we'll be confining our programs to Zoom for the coming 2-3 meetings also till further notice. That's the first thing. And second thing, the last year's and the last month's activities have been published in our Rotary group. And this week, we are already having some sittings about our 80 years celebration. And there has been a great support from our past president, Vijayasagar about water project for which our incoming president, the vice president, Mr. Madhu, is also coordinating the same task. Apart from that, our weekly projects are already queued. I request our secretary to present any information that we have about our services. Madhamika ji.
Namaste, sir.
Madhamika ji, yes. The secretary's report, please.
అందరికీ తెలుగు సంవత్సరాది ఉగాది శుభాకాంక్షలు అండి. హలో సార్, am I audible?
Yes, very much, very much.
Okay. As usual, ఈ మంత్ మనం ఆశ్రమానికి డొనేషన్ ఇచ్చామండి. డొనేటెడ్ బై రొటేరియన్ అప్పారావు గారు అండ్ రొటేరియన్ వినయ్ గాంధీ గారు. ఆ టాస్క్ కంప్లీట్ అయింది సార్. రిమైనింగ్ విత్ ఇన్ నెక్స్ట్ వీక్ లో కంప్లీట్ చేస్తాం. Thank you, President Garu, giving me opportunity to tell this project report.
That's great. Thank you, ma'am. And at the same time, let me recognize the celebrities this week, the birthdays and wedding anniversaries. We have on 5th April, Apparao Garu, who has celebrated his birthday, and we have TV Rao Garu also celebrating his birthday in this week. Happy birthday, sir, from all the members of Rotary Club of Visakhapatnam. And also we have wedding anniversaries of Sangu Sakaram Garu. And also we have our Goli Bhaskar Garu also celebrating their wedding anniversaries today. Wonderful, sir. Congratulations and happy wedding anniversary throughout the year. Thank you. So today we are directly jumping off into the topic, which was the speaker. We will be going with a single point agenda for today. So in this regard, I would like to request our senior Rotarian, ANS Rauji, to please introduce our speaker of the day.
President, Rotarians, invitees, friends. Uh, I, I am here to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Ramya. So to start with, I would like to start with a quotation from Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction writer. He said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So technology, when used to uplift or improve the quality of life of human beings, is very good use of technology. And when it is used to improve the lives of most deserving people, it is highly appreciated. The speaker of the day, Dr. Ramya S. Moorthy, is a person who is involved in creating such magical uses of advanced technology. She is the founder director of Nimaya Robotics Private Limited from Chennai, and has spent the last 8 years of her life working towards a singular goal, that is to help children with special needs. Nimaya Robotics is a one-of-a-kind pioneering company that employs the use of robotics in the training of psychomotor and cognitive skills for autism, spectrum disorder, and other multiple disabilities. Dr. Ramya developed Supra Yoga, an IoT based cloud monitoring of devices and training methodology, which is designed to augment existing occupational therapy programs. And this methodology helps accelerate the rate of learning by more than 60% in children with ASD. For Dr. Ramya, the rationale for starting a company that works with children with autism spectrum disorder is very simple. If her device could help even one child out there live out a life that is not limited by their disorder, then she would do everything in her power to help that child. Dr. Ramya's journey has been a whirlwind of events and emotions. She has she was involved in a fire accident, lost her voice briefly, and the fire destroyed her life's work. And yet, she has shown phenomenal strength and resilience by getting up again and crossing the finish line. She got back on track because she realized her purpose in life after one phone call. The phone call was from a special educator of a child with whom she had worked in the past, uh, informing her that the child who was initially diagnosed with almost zero psychomotor skills at the start of the learning was able to remember and carry out every skill he had learned even after 1 year. This planted the seed for Nimaya in Dr. Ramya's heart. Since that day, there has been no looking back. Dr. Ramya is an Inspire Fellow, IIS Fellow 2018, University Gold Medalist in MTech Robotics. She has a bachelor's degree in Electrical and Electronics Engineering, and her work has also been published in several international scientific journals on robotics. Nimaya Robotics has been awarded Innovation of the Year award by ALEAP of Telangana, Hyderabad. And Nimaya means to create a change in Sanskrit. And true to its name, the startup is trying to do for millions of children by helping them progress towards independent living. We invite Dr. Ramya to the floor to share her inspiring story and how she is creating magic in the lives of special children.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, ANS Rauji, for your wonderful introduction of today's speaker. Thank you. Yes, my dear Rotarians, this has been a long journey where we people met, and these acquaintances in this life of this entrepreneurship has been living remarkable people in our life. I met so many people who have been into various journeys applying their technology and their patterns of their skills into their passions. And among them, one of the person is our speaker of the day, Dr. Ramya Moorthy. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
I request our secretary of the day, Madambika ji, to take up the session. And I would like to recognize the presence of our district officer, Sri Kiran Babu, the district secretary over here. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yes, and I would like to request our secretary to please take up the anchoring of this program.
Once again, good evening to all. Hello, Ramya ma'am. Welcome to Rotary Club Visakhapatnam. We are very eager to know what is this autism and how you connect it to robotics and all. So can you tell me what is autism, ma'am?
Sure. So, autism is one of the neurological disorders, right? So, this is basically there is a developmental disorder in brain development. This causes issues in the child to, say, for example, in communication, just like how we naturally talk with everybody, how we connect and make friends. So, that is called a social interaction. So, there can be issues in regular communication, like different kinds of languages, or even making words, letters, pronunciation, all of that could be hindered. The next would be the social interaction part, where how we easily mix with people, we start talking with them, we make friends, how we get on a podium and talk, and all of this also becomes a problem. Another thing that you can see as a problem in a child with autism is they have different behavioral issues. For example, you can find a child being obsessed with one single object for a very, very long time. Right? Otherwise, you can see the child screaming or running or looking at one particular point and turning around. There is a repeated behavior of that child that constantly keeps happening. And another important deficit that you find is the daily life activities. You know how opening and closing of a door, or brushing our teeth, or opening a bottle is such a natural and involuntary process for all of us, right? But it's a huge problem for children with autism, because for them to understand what a door is, then to understand that you need to reach out to the knob using your hand and articulate fingers in particular way to hold the knob, then turn it, then to open the door, is different steps of parameters. So this, the cognitive development of it to understand what a door and how to open and close, and also the fact how their body can articulate to open and close becomes a problem for them, right? So everything becomes a challenge. So these are the basic issues when it comes to a child with autism spectrum disorder.
That's great, ma'am. And along with this, can you also give us some information which made you choose this domain?
Sure. So, one story that how it happened of me coming into this area, I personally think it as a calling for me, because once I was done with my MTech, I ended up meeting a lot of people from the autism background. It was either a parent, or it was either a principal of a school, or a child with autism. So, using those contacts, I went to a school and met several parents there. That's when I realized the constant thought process of those parents is that they have young children with autism. So their constant thought process is that right now I will be able to do everything for them. But eventually, when I am not around, how is he going to be independent? So this was a thought process that was constantly bothering the parents, right? So this is how, so I kept this at the back of my mind and went about with my life. And once when I joined my PhD, I met my guide on the first day, and we realized that he's been looking into autism for quite a while as well. So that's when we realized this is the area that we are going to look inside. And most importantly, we wanted to take up something that will make a child independent eventually. So that is how my calling to this area actually came about. And so as let me go ahead and give you a little bit about why the psychomotor skills or the daily life activities. So I can quickly give you a screen share. And so why, I think the first question everybody usually asks is like, why robotics for autism? So once I started looking into what kind of area that has been done, what are the different types of therapies that has been going on. Normally, the children are taken to occupational therapy, physiotherapy, speech therapy, etc. But then that was always a technology deprived state of it. They usually use those physical mazes, wooden box, different kinds of ball, anything that is physical. So once I started looking into all of this, I realized there was a lot of studies that were showing that children with autism are attracted towards robot and robot-like features more than a human being. That is because usually when a mother is going to tell a child, say pick up the ball, she can tell the same way the first time, maybe the second time. The second time she will go say pick up the ball, but the third time she would be like, would you please pick up the ball? The moment there is a change in the modulation or the tone or the different features in our faces changes, the child tends to get a little anxious. So the child withdraws itself from the whole thing and does not do it. But in case of a robo, it's going to do the same thing over and over again a million times in the exact same modulation or the tone or the method. This helps the child to adhere to a particular routine and thus helps them to accelerate the rate of learning, right? So this is what I found out, and I realized this is ultimate because it is my area of expertise and I can use that to help children. So that's when I went ahead to do a little more research and found out there are several robots that's being used. Let me quickly show you what's being done. I hope you can see the screen.
Perfect.
All right. So here, as you can see, there is different types of robots that's being used for children with autism. But the difference is that here, the device is predominantly used for social interaction or facial expression, right? They are not used for something called as the daily life activity or the psychomotor skills. So now let me explain what a psychomotor skill is. When I realize there's a lot of work being done in other areas, because usually when a parent, when they go to the therapist or to a doctor, the first thing that they ask is, my child is not talking, or help my child write. But sometimes people tend to forget that for them to carry out everyday activities is as important as talking, right? To move our hands, to hold and eat, or being potty trained, everything is super important. So that's when I realized this was the area that there was a huge gap which has not been concentrated on. So that is when we decided we're going to go ahead with psychomotor skills. So what exactly is psychomotor skills? Your brain tells your body to do something, your body does it, and immediately there is a signal that goes back telling that your body has carried it out. Right? This is the basic neurological connection between the sensory and the receptor part of it. So, say for example, my brain is telling, please go pick up the laser charger. So I go pick it up. Now, my brain immediately knows that I have picked it up. So now this is where the entire transaction is over. But with a child with autism, what happens is that there is damage in the wiring of it or the neural pathways. So now the brain is completely capable of giving the instruction. Your body may be completely capable of handling the different items as well. But the connection between them becomes a problem, and whatever the brain is telling, the body is not able to carry it out exactly. So this is where the difficulties come in for the child. So that's when I realized we should go ahead and start working on the psychomotor skill part of it. So yeah, so that is where we are. And let me just continue with how our systems work. So here, as you can see on the screen, these are the usual devices that's being used by occupational therapists. Different set of boxes, different set of plastic items or wooden items, etc. But then they're all lacking one thing. For example, I've worked with more than 40, 45 different schools. I went around, sat through different sessions. And I figured out when I interviewed a lot of occupational therapists, they told me in general, for a child to understand how to open or close a door, it takes about 6 months to a year. That's how long it takes for a child to understand how to open or close a door. So then I realized it is taking quite a lot of time, and let's see how and what are the other activities that can be taken care of. So, for your understanding, these are few of the grasps that we are actually addressing using our devices. So, the first one is a palmar grasp. So, what is a palmar grasp? Is nothing but anything that you hold using your palm, as you can see it in the first one. Then you have the pincer grasp, which is basically using your two fingers. So, if you can translate this to everyday life activities, you can see that it is everywhere. We use it everywhere, right from the morning, from taking a brush to opening a lock, closing the door, opening a bottle. So these are basic grasps that's required for the child in everyday life, right? So the conventional therapy method that's being used right now are the teacher teaches the child the activity, and now due to the lack of audio visual feedback, it takes a lot of time for the child to understand. So usually a class would go on, say for example, the child has to learn palmar grasp. The therapist will sit with the child, ask him to pick up a ball and put it in a basket, right? And now the therapist has to pick it up and put it back in the basket for the child to do it all over again. Now, what happens to the child is that he does not get anything out of carrying out that action. So now he loses complete interest in it. He's all like, you know what, if I'm going to cry or if I'm going to yell, you are going to do that for me. So why should I do it? Because I have zero interest in it. That's where Nimea brought in the change. So what we do is we work on a unique concept called as active learning. Here what happens, the teacher teaches the child the activity using our devices. But then the activity gives you the audio visual feedback. Now, this helps the child not only understand what it is doing or be attracted to it, they also relate to their action and their reaction. They know unless they do it correctly, they're not going to get that happy reaction that they are getting out of the device. This helps them accelerate the rate of learning. So that is the basis of our device. So let me, yeah. So I'm going to show one video of a child, a complete transformation of a child as when they started training with us. Please let me know if you're not able to hear the voice.
You have to share the audio.
Do I have to share it again?
No. Just switch on the audio part on the top of the Zoom.
Okay, give me a second.
Enable sharing computer audio.
Okay, 1 second.
On the Zoom tool, you can complete.
Yeah. I think it should be there now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sanji, வலது கையில தரங்க, வலது கையில தரங்க, கதவு.
Can you explain what is happening there?
Yes, I will. So first is the pre-assessment part of it. Let me go there quickly. So this is where the pre-assessment starts. So what happens here is before we start our training, we always check how much the child knows to see if the child is able to understand or to assess the amount of knowledge that the child has in that particular training. As you can see here, the child was quite clueless as to what the door was.
Sanji, வலது கையில தரங்க, வலது கையில தரங்க, கதவு.
And on day one, we start initially training one parameter at a time. So initially we start with helping the child hold the knob and help them understand what open is, right? And eventually, so first in this device, what happens is that we teach them open, we teach them close, then we teach them a combination of both, right? I will explain once I'm showing the picture, just So initially you could see the child required a physical help. The therapist had to hello. So
Sorry, please continue.
yeah. The therapist had to hold the child's hand and then help him open it because he had no idea how to close his fingers over it and turn it. So, and then eventually what happens, you start reducing the assistance that you give. Now, on the day 4, you can.
இடது கையால மூடு. Very good. கதவு திற சஞ்சய். கதவு திற. Very good. இங்க வா. கதவு மூடு.
So you could see that a child who was quite clueless about what a door was or how to open or close a door was able to do it just on telling him what to do, no? Because by reducing the different assistance that we give, he eventually learns. And this just happened in matter of days. So yeah, using this door device, what are the things that they usually learn? This is to give an understanding of one device. Then I will go ahead telling the working of the rest of it. So in just by using one device of ours, they are able to understand what a bilateral coordination is. What is a bilateral coordination? Now what happens is usually we have, right hand, we are usually either right-handed or left-handed. But even if you have a dominant hand, you will still hold items in the other hands. But in case of a child with autism, what happens is that if they are holding something in their dominant hand and you give them another thing, they tend to keep that down and use the same hand to pick it up. They don't use their other hand at all. To develop this right from a very, very early age, what we do is we do the bilateral coordination exercises. Now that is why in our door device, you can see there are 2 knobs and this helps them open and close the door, right? So they understand what a Polymer Grasp is, eye-hand coordination, wrist rotation, concept of closing, opening, and all of it. So yeah, so okay. The same child whose video that you just saw, this is to give you an understanding of how it works. So initially during the number of trials, you can see the score was very less because the child needed help to even handle it. But that kept increasing over the period of time. And towards the end, the child was able to carry it out without any kind of an issue. He did not need any kind of an assistance by the end of it. And this is what our devices do. Now, let me go ahead and tell you how our devices work. So, our product architecture is what you see on the screen. All of our devices are IoT-based cloud monitored system. The skill training unit here on the right bottom is the place where the child comes in contact with to learn the different set of skills. It could be either this skill, it could be maybe say how to put on a shoe or a shirt or anything of that sort. The trainer interface unit is where the therapist comes in contact with. That is to enter everyday's data. Now, both of these devices have a set of sensors and complementary electronics that picks up the measurements automatically and sends it to the cloud. In the cloud, it goes through a very specialized algorithm that has been devised and gives you everyday progress graph of the child. Right? So we are the first of its kind to track every single parameter. So what are the parameters that we are talking about? For example, say every therapist, when they look at the child's work, they see if the child is able to carry out the activity or not. For example, say if the child has to pick up the ball and put it in a basket, that is an activity. So they only assess if they are able to do the activity or not. But in our case, we track everything, right? From how the child is holding the ball, if the child is able to identify the ball, is he able to pick it up and put it in the other basket, and everything is tracked. And the best part is it's tracked automatically. So this not only shows the improvement of the child to the therapist, but most importantly, the parents get to see how much their child is developing every day, right? So right now we have 6 different devices that's in the market, and the 4 is what you see on the screen. The other two, due to patent process, is not being published here. So first, let me show you how each of our devices work. Here, in case of the joystick, it is to teach them the different directions, right? If you go back and think in life, we don't even remember how we ended up getting trained as to this is our right hand or this is our left hand or what is up, down, right and left, right? But it's such a huge challenge for a child with autism to understand the concept of what a direction is, let alone apply it in everyday life, like turn to your right or turn to your left. First, they don't even know how to understand the different types of directions. So that is what this device is used for. And the door system, as you just saw in the video, is to open and close the door. Shoe and shirt are quite self-explanatory. Now let me go ahead and show you the video of the devices once working for them. So this device, as you can see, is the joystick device. So the one that you see with the yellow color, robo is the STU or the skill training unit. Here, now the child will hold the orange colored joystick to move that device. I'm actually put it on mute so that I can help with the explanation. So as you can see, those tiny buses and all are like a attractive thing for the child, to use it as a goalpost. So now holding this joystick, we will move it up, down, and right and left. So as you can see, now it's going up. And using the same joystick, you can move right. And then you show them left as well. This is the door device. And using the first knob on the right, we help them open the door. And the doll inside actually acts as the positive reinforcement, right? And this is the shoe device. Only when the child connects the different clasps correctly, then you will have the positive reinforcement. This helps them understand which one is the right shoe, which one is the left shoe, how you are supposed to hold it using two fingers, which is the pincer grasp, and then how are you supposed to connect a Velcro, how to connect them correctly, like let alone crisscross and connecting it. We will help them understand how to match them correctly, and then how to take them off. So once you connect them correctly, you have the canister here where the different balls moves around and gives a very, very positive reinforcement for the child. In case of the shirt device, we help them understand how to put on a shirt, how a shirt works, how to connect. In this case, we help them learn the 4 different colors as well. So just with these 6 different devices, we train more than 30 different psychomotor skills and daily life activities. So that is the a brief introduction about all of our devices. So the important part here is that our systems, so this is basically based on the 5 years of research I have done, and our systems accelerate the rate of learning by more than 60%. And we proved this by doing a proper control and a target group analysis. That is, we had a set of children with the same set of parameters for using our devices, and we have a set of children for the same set of parameters using the regular therapy devices, and we proved it accelerates the rate of learning by more than 60%. For example, in case of a door, when a child takes about 6 months to a year, using our device, you can make sure that the child is able to get that skill within a month or 2. So the important features of why we are best is because our systems augment the existing therapy system. The regular therapist, we don't replace the therapist or we don't take the human out of the equation. The therapist can use our devices to train the children. This not only helps them get their skills much faster, with the demand of the amount of therapists that is there right now, they can actually accommodate a lot more children because their learning is much faster right now. Ours is the first to have individual parameter based performance and parameter based tracking as well. Each of the parameter is not only tracked, but you get to see the output and the progress every single day. And each of the devices are very portable. They are not only ergonomically designed, but are also disability conscious. So what does that disability conscious mean? For child with autism, there is a condition called as sensory integration. That means certain child may not like the touch and the feel of each of it. So now for that, we have taken into consideration anything that the child comes in contact with. We end up putting different kinds of sleeves, or we make sure that they are very comfortable to touch them. So for each of the child, it is a tailor-made training program that we are devising. This tailor-made training program is called the Super Yoga training program. We basically right now provide it as a subscription model. So we train the children in our clinic here in Chennai, and we also work with different schools because the therapist will, the special schools will subscribe to our devices and train the children. I hope that has given a brief understanding.
Yes, doctor, that's really good. And so, just a question from the audience, and as well as our secretary also has given the list because there is some power connection problem over there. Yes, let me put it briefly. So, as you have said, can you please elaborate? Are these centers called as schools or as different therapy centers which are currently existing in the market for the children of this autism? How do they go ahead?
So there are two different set of schools. So one is a special school where you can actually enroll your child right from the morning until a particular time in the afternoon. So the child will go through different types of therapy during the entire course of the day. Just like how a neurotypical child goes to a typical school with different periods throughout the day, we have this child who will have a different set of periods. For example, one period will be for sensory integration issue, one period will be for physical activity alone, one period will be for speech therapy, etc. The other is that there are different individual therapists who run their own clinics or special needs center. So there you can take the child for a particular therapy that is required. Say, for example, a child of 3 years needs both speech therapy and occupational therapy. Then the individual centers have a particular time slot where they can take the child, and the therapist will train the child in the occupational therapy. Then you can take the child to a speech therapist elsewhere. So these are the two different method that's existing right now, and we cater to both. So both of them can subscribe to our devices and run it as part of their curriculum, or take it as a different class as well.
So autism is a deficiency of some kind of protein in the body, or is it a DNA, what is the problem, or what exactly is it for the children? And when is it identified, in what age?
So that's a beautiful question. So to address the first thing, autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder, but the actual origin of it is not yet found because it usually caused by several different parameters. It could be genetic. It could possibly run in your family in a different form. Say, for example, there could be a great aunt who had a cerebral palsy or a mental retardation. That gene can get mutated in this generation to have autism, or there can some kind of a mishap in the vaccination has also been caused. There are several studies that have shown even if there is no absolute history of it, there is a possible this thing where your gene get mutated, your child might end up getting autism. There is no one particular reason why this only causes autism. Lifestyle, food, everything tends to happen. A lot of radiation, tablets during pregnancies, all of this tend to, or dropping a child when the baby is very young, all of these tend to be the possibilities for the child to get autism. Very, very important aspect of it is that it can be detected at a very, very early stage. This is an awareness that we really, really have to spread, because the autism can be detected as young as 8 months to within 2 to 3 years. right? Right from 8 months, you can find out there are different milestones that the child might not reach. Say, for example, at 3 months, your child's head is supposed to, be proper and straight and it starts getting fixed. But sometimes, even at 6 or 7 months, the child might not, the head would be still a little floppy and would not get fixed. That means the child is not reaching the milestone as it is supposed to. Similarly, by 8 months, the child should be able to sit up, should be able to start eating semi-solid foods. So all of there are a different set of milestones the child is supposed to meet. Most importantly, eye contact. The onset of autism predominantly tend to happen within the age of 8 months to 2 years. There are cases where the child is very, very neurotypical at the start. They start learn to talk, they know how to use words, but there is a regression of words. What does that mean? By the time they reach the age of 2, say if the child had a vocabulary of 500 words, suddenly now those 500 words become 100 words, 100 words become 10. Now they suddenly start speaking in only single words instead of sentences, and then they suddenly stop speaking. So this is a definite onset of autism which happens around the age of 2. This is called as an early detection. Actually, Nimea has been working on something very, very important for the early detection part of it. And we are coming up with that particular app very, very soon in a month's time. And we'll, because the young parents and parents with infants and guardians with really small babies right now don't have the awareness as to what are the different set of milestones the child is supposed to meet. To make this super easy on them, we are coming up with an app that's going to help them track the child's milestone throughout, right? This is called as early detection. This is a very, very important aspect when it comes to young children to detect and see if the child is getting autism. The other important factor is the early intervention. This is when once you've detected that you're concerned about your child's issues, then you can immediately take them to a doctor or a pediatrician and then get your child diagnosed. And the moment you get your child diagnosed as early as possible, you can create a very, very good plan to make sure the child can be trained and be as inclusive and independent as possible in everyday life. This is a very important aspect because the moment you start your training as early as 1.5 years or 2 years, the child's growth is going to be as soon and a very, very early progress can be seen, right? So that is a very, very important aspect, early detection and early intervention.
That's nice. Wonderful. So, yes, Madhavikaji, is your signal stable now?
Coming
No,
some
it is.
here.
No, it is not stable. Okay. Okay, okay, no problem. Thank you. Yes. So, yes, the next point, which is from the audience is there any permanent cure for it, or is it only just practice up to a particular percentage of recovery or anything like that?
So far, there is no cure for autism. So if there are going to be a lot of different specialists from this area coming and telling there is a cure for autism, I honestly tell you, please do not believe it. There is no cure for autism as of now. They are working on different kinds of vaccine and medicines for that, but it's going to take a while because they're still not able to find the particular origin to give a proper dose to. There are several people who are running, or spreading wrong news telling that autism has been cured for my child. No, but they are very, very trainable. They are very trainable in case of communication or in case of social behavior, in case of daily life activities, right? So the basic requirement of anybody is to get up, handle themselves throughout the day, and go back to bed. So this is something that is possible for a child with autism. They are trainable in that matter to train them in every aspect possible and make them very, very inclusive. There are several children that I have worked with who are in regular schools with an inclusive program. That means they'll be given a little more attention, but they are in neurotypical schools, just like how and every other neurotypical child goes. it's a regular, neurotypical is basically a normal child because so they tend to go to those schools as well. There are a lot of people who've done masters, who've done bachelors in engineering, in design, in graphic design. All of this is possible, but you need to train them as young as possible.
And also there is another question from one of the participants. Radhaji, you can directly ask also.
I have a friend in Chennai whose child has ADHD. Would you be able to help them?
Yes, sir. So ADHD is nothing but attention deficit disorder. So hyperactivity and attention deficit disorder. Yes, if they have a psychomotor skill issue, and most importantly, our devices help them rest a little bit. If they are super hyperactivity and they're not focused to do any kind of a particular task, our devices help them because the Super Yoga training program has been devised for ADHD as well, right? And this device not only helps them understand how to do the different activities, but also helps them to concentrate, focus, respond to commands, turn taking, that is to share and everything. So that is also part of the training. Yes, we do cater for children with ADHD and it's definitely training.
This fellow is nearly 18 years old.
Okay.
I suppose they would have gone to other people, but he's always you could always help. So could you please pass on your contact to the president? So I will ask him to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. I will even drop it down in the chat box right away.
Please go ahead.
Sure. At the same time, another member, Radha Vishwanathan, can you please put your question, sir?
Hi, I was just wondering, do the children learn how to open doors with only a specific kind of knob, or do they learn how to open doors with any kind of knob?
So using our device, usually any knob that has got to do with the rotary motion, we get to do it in this device. But there is another device that's already in the pipeline that's being developed right now, which comes from different types of handles. For example, one of those handles which has like a thing to hold, right? In that case, we call it as a cylindrical grasp. So for that and this motion, the up-down lever motion, there is another device that's being developed right now.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So
anybody else would like to conduct some questions? Dr. Ma'am is here.
So the important aspect of this is that there is a concept called as generalization for children with autism. For example, you teach a child showing a green leaf that this is green, they tend not to generalize it in any other device. You can probably show a green apple tomorrow and they will not recognize it as a green at all, right? Until they see the same leaf and then they look at it and say, oh, this is green. This is the concept of generalization. That's a very challenging aspect. So mostly the questions that come up to me is like, if they learn in your device, how will they generalize? That is the best part of our devices. But even the video that you saw right now, we never trained that child to go open and close a regular door. We always made him work only on our device and he was automatically able to generalize it in everyday life. This is because all of our devices are very close to reality and it works in an active learning process. So generalization happens automatically for the child.
That's nice. Anybody else has any questions? That's nice. Okay, one more question now, Dr. Ramya.
Yes, sir.
The people are asking, like, see, you have come up with some devices, right? What is the duration that is required for the children to use them in order to get acquainted with that operation?
Sorry, the last part got cut because I heard some other voice.
Yeah. The thing is that how long do they have to use this device to get acquainted with that operation or with that psychosomatic activities to become normal in their life actually?
So for each one set of devices, say if you take the door device or if you just take the joystick device, to complete one device, all it takes is just 45 sessions for the child. So that is hardly 2 months. That is all that is required for the child to understand, not only learn, but also use it in everyday life. But on the contrary, in the usual regular therapy method, it takes about 6 months to a year. So that itself shows you a major difference of more than 80% when it comes to that. The child is able to learn it. All we say is we suggest everyday classes or worst case alternative days, but not less than alternative days. We do not recommend once in a week or once in 2 weeks or anything of that sort. We suggest everyday classes for continuity, worst case alternative days, and within 45 sessions, predominantly every child ends up learning that particular set of devices across the entire spectrum. So why I'm specifying spectrum here is because autism spectrum disorder has different types of children throughout, right? So what happens is they can be mild or moderate or severe autism as well. And we have worked with children across the spectrum, and all of them have showed the same learning path. Of course, a little bit up and down depending on the child's learning curve.
So your products, what you have innovated, Dr. Ramya, do they fall under the medical domain, or are they something like alternative therapies or some kind of a private practitioner suggestions, or how do they actually fall into the global application of medicine industry?
So we basically come under educational aids, just like how a notebook or a pencil or a wooden block or a basket or anything comes as an educational aid. We come under educational aid because this is something the child uses to play, but not something that has been applied on the child. So this comes under educational aid, and it is not does not come under a health or a medical device.
Okay. So who will normally prescribe or else suggest these products? How do the people know about it?
So usually parents can directly contact me and come over and have their child trained here in our clinic. Or we have special educators who usually recommend our devices, or the special schools who know that this particular child can be this device can be helpful. On a larger scale, if you can see, for example, there is a institution called as National Institute of Empowerment of Persons with Multiple Disability. That is a central government organization that is specifically for autism, cerebral palsy, children with other multiple disabilities. It's exactly what we do. And their director was super nice, and we worked with them. We actually have signed up an MOU with them. So they recommend our devices as well. We will be starting our training, of course, just a little after the COVID scenario settles down. So that will be coming from the
Okay. Yeah, that's great. And also another participant has a question. Yes, Puranik, can you please put your question? Hello, can you hear me? Yes, their question is that from what age group they can start? What is the minimum age group they can start off these trainings?
We train as young as 1.5 years, 1.5 years to about 16 to 18 years. We usually train until 16 years, but then for people who are in the vocational training part of it, we cater to them as well for particular skills, just for pincer grasp or just for palmer grasp. So we cater for older children as well. We start as young as 1.5 years. Our youngest so far has been 1.5 years.
Okay, that's great. Yes, any other question from the audience? That's nice. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Ramya, for your wonderful explanation about this autism and your passion in the science and how you have addressed this important aspect which was there in the market for a long period of time. And there are so many traditional methods that we have been seeing since a period of time. But yes, they are only available for a few people globally. And what can you just elaborate some information like what are the different centers available in India which are equipped with advanced and sophisticated machines like what you are innovating or other machines from the global market?
So across India, we have NIPMED, the one in Uttandi here in Chennai, NIMHANS in Bangalore. They do have few of those assistive devices. But as far as robotics is concerned or any of these IoT devices concerned, Nimaya has been one of a kind, and it's probably one of the very, very pioneer in that stage to assist with daily life activities and psychomotor skills. when it comes to communication, we have different types of tablets that they use with different types of apps that is there across a lot of several special education centers. For example, in Chennai, I think we have Eka, we've got in Bangalore, we've got Ishanya, we've got Asha. So I think one of the best you can do is there is a website called Naidisha. It's from Hyderabad, actually, a person called Prachi. She has done an amazing movement to actually collate all of this data into one hub. So if you can reach out to them and you can get into their database, you will be able to find the necessary information. Therapist maybe, or a special educator, or special schools, anything that you require.
That's great. And a question from my side, Dr. Ramya. How are you getting funding for all these innovations and research and for these products and everything?
Well, so far we've bootstrapped. We came to the market in February, and we have been part of several accelerators and stuff. And yeah, completely, we've not gone into funding as of now. We've been bootstrapped.
So have you taken the help of this support of this UNSGD and other organizations like that, and even Google is coming with so many fundings, and even Infosys for this kind of cause?
Yes, we have reached out to a few of them. Yes.
That's great. So that's it. So I hope there are no other questions from the other people. So nice. So thank you very much, Dr. Ramya Moorthy, for your wonderful speech on this elaborated subject, which is so nice actually. And yes, you have covered most of the aspects of this autism and especially how it can be addressed in the children. And it is also going to be a new hope for the parents, especially that there is a new devices which are also coming up in the market. And certainly people like you will trigger this kind of thought process in the upcoming generation also. There are so many people who are passionate about technology, about innovation, about research, using their own skill sets and science. And yes, it can be also applied for a cause in case if you are having a heart to serve the society. And that's so nice. You have taken up your PhD in autism and as well as in robotics, where you're able to connect these dots and strings. And that really shows how serious you are about this particular domain. And thank you very much for all the other Rotary members over here. And thank you, ANS Rouser, for introducing the speaker of the day, and Vijay Sagarji and Muralidharanji for taking up the Rotary song, and our Secretary Modambika for addressing the questions and interviewing Dr. Ramya for all of us. And thank you, Dr. Ramya, once again for your wonderful and elaborated speech about your innovation and your progress in this domain. And yes, we all wish that these particular facilities and features and the technology is going to come into everybody's house, wherever it is really required and where the parents are eagerly waiting for their children. Wish you a good luck and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you, for this opportunity. Thank you for having me. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And yes, I would like to keep this meeting open for any kind of social networking. And I call this meeting officially signing off for this day of this 14th of April. And thank you, district officers, for being with us today, Sri Kiran Baugaru, who is the district secretary. Yes, sir, I would like to give you a chance to address our people. Please, sir, please address our club before we close.
Very good evening to all the Rotarians of Rotary Club of Visakhapatnam. And Madam, it's really wonderful message that you have given. The topic is very, very essential, and most of the people don't know actually what to do and what is autism and how we can have the solution for this and all. So you have narrated very well with patience and as well as the clarity. The communication is also very good. So thank you very much, madam, for addressing our Rotarians of RA District 3020. So I could see the Rotary members from different locations, Rajahmundry, Uyuru, and all the other places. So thanks to President Shrikant Garu and also Secretary Modambika Garu and all the seniors of Rotary Club of Visakhapatnam. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, District Secretary Ji. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. That is so nice meeting all of you here again. Though we are really afraid actually because of the storms and everything in Visakhapatnam that's happening here. The coastal cyclone has been announced, say, just 5-10 minutes before the meeting has been taken off. So yes, but luckily nothing has been in such a way that it is going to be disconnected. Nice that you're all here. So thank you so much. And the meeting is adjourned. For social networking, I'll be keeping it open. Thank you.
So I would just like to add, so please do watch out our social media network in our social media space, our Facebook and Instagram, because the milestone app that we were talking about will be launching very, very soon. And anybody who will be interested can connect, and this will help to track anybody with, anybody with a new baby or anybody who would be interested to track their milestone. And that will be super, super helpful, I think.
Wow, that's good. Thank you.
And Shrikant sir, actually wanted to add, it is quite nice that the Visakhapatnam Rotary was the first one to have me over, because I have a bit of a connection with Visakhapatnam, because my father, Mr. Moorthy, was the CEO of APITA there. And so I used to visit Visakhapatnam.
Okay.
He was there for about 3 to 4 years, I guess. So we visited Visakhapatnam quite often. And
Acha. That's really nice. Then I think I must be knowing him. I think I have seen Mr. Moorthy in our list in the names actually. Is he here with us now?
I think he did join, but
Yeah, because I remember I have seen that name, but I thought it is somebody else.
no, I guess he's not available right now. So, but yeah, it was nice. Thank you.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you, Ramya ji.
Thank
So
you.
nice. You did a wonderful job, and so many facts we understood today. Thank you so much for your entire session.